So we're not going to spend, if you want to go study these genealogies, and you may. Ethnology, I think, is the proper term for studying all this stuff, if you want to. What, Becca? So remember, we've all descended from Shem, Ham, and you can just leave it on that second row there, if you would, please. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So as you look at your list there, also look at your map. So there are people that will tell you that there's a certain curse from Ham down to Canaan. Just leave it on the second row there, right? And of course we know that's ridiculous. There are major religions out there that subscribe to that for a long time, up until like 10, 15 years ago, when it became ultra non-PC to believe that. However, the Canaanites ended up in Palestine before, and that's who the Jews pushed out. So as you read these genealogies, we're going to read hardly anything on Ham. We're going to read not much on Japheth, and then a whole bunch from Shem. Shem, remember, that would be the Shemites. That's where we get the word, if somebody hates Jews, they're anti-Semitic, comes from the word Shem. And so the descendants of Shem, and if you look down there, you don't see Jews, right? As you look through your list. So then what you think about there is the descendants of Shem gave us the Chaldeans. Abraham came from the of what? Chaldees. So even though he ended up in the promised land over where Canaan was, he started out closer to Persia and that area over there. Does that make sense? So there I just summed up like most of chapter 11, unless you really want to cover it again. But we'll read it real quick. There's a couple things I want to point out. And from there, but we're going to read quick. Chapter 10. Ready? All right. Now these are the generations of the son of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were born sons born after the flood. So a couple things we learn here. Remember, Noah and his wife had no other children, but Shem, Ham, and Japheth after the flood. They may have had some before, we don't know, but they did not have any more after. So the sons of Japheth, by the way, we are well, for the most part, we're Japhethites. Most of those went, Japheth would be Europe and all that. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog. Magog, by the way, remember the Battle of Gog and Magog? If you look back at your map, you'll see that Magog is north of the Caspian Sea. So that makes them, many people that think the Battle of Gog and Magog, that is Russia. So that's how when somebody says Russia has to come down and attack Israel towards the end of the tribulation, that's where they're getting it from. Just where Magog is and all these different people. Madai and Javan and Tubal and Mesech and Tyrus. Here's a list of names for you. I mean, come on, you're going with all these Timothys and Tituses and things of that nature. You know, let's hit it up with a Gomer. And the sons of Gomer, look, Ashkenaz and Riphath. Hey, oh, what'd you name your baby? Riphath. And Tagarmah. There you go. And the sons of Javan. We came pretty close on that one with the Javan. Elisha and Tarshish. Remember who set off for Tarshish? Somebody said it, I heard it. Jonah. Jonah jumped in a boat heading to Tarshish, which would be closer to Spain. Let's see. Where was I just reading?
Verse 4.
For Kittim and Dodanim, that guy. But these are the isles of the Gentiles. So that's us, Japheth, Gentiles. Divided in their lands and everyone after his tongue and their families and their nations. And the sons of Ham, so there we go, Cush and Mizraim. That would be the dude that ended up down in Egypt. And Phut and Canaan. And which, by the way, the curse of Canaan ended up being the Canaanites being subdued by the Israelites and pushed them out of the land, which ended up happening. The sons of Cush, Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, Sabachah, and the sons of Ramah, and Sheba, and Dedan. And Cush begot Nimrod. See, that's a pretty easy one to go with. And he began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was mighty, he was a mighty hunter before the Lord, wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And so Hunter, we can start calling you Nimrod, right? And Hunter is a hunter, and so are you mighty before the Lord in your hunting? Yeah, okay.
You got a deer this week.
Yeah, I heard you got a deer. All right. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel. So it's interesting. The timing here is what I have a question about when we read these two chapters. As they went out, I think that when we're talking about them going out with their languages and being dispersed, didn't happen until Babel. I think all these people went to the plain of Shinar. I think as they're growing in that one area, they begin to build up. It's from there they went out. I personally think that. Otherwise, we have to think that all these people went out and they went to different parts of the planet, and then just one group of people in Babel built the tower, and because they built it, then everybody's language on the entire planet was then changed, which makes less sense to me. Not saying it can't happen, I read commentaries trying to figure this thing out. Nobody even covers it. So apparently it's not important to anybody. Important to me, but whatever. But anyways, in the beginning of his kingdom was Babel. And out of that land went forth Asher and builded Nineveh, and the city Rehoboth, and Calah, and Rezin between Nineveh and Calah, the same as a great city. So by the way, these people right after the flood, we're not talking about Nimwits here. We're not talking about cavemen. We're talking about intelligent people stepping off the ark, knowing how to build pyramids. Is it ziggurats? Ziggurat? Which is it? Does anybody know? Okay, do you know what a ziggurat is? Okay, it's a thing like a pyramid, but it has the steps up the side. They did the sacrifice at the top, but there's usually steps, I think is the difference. Ziggurat. There we go, ziggurat. So.
How long was it from the flood to when they started doing the Tower of Babel?
I don't know.
And is that Nimrod's, the beginning of his kingdom was Babel? Is that Nimrod's kingdom?
What?
In verse 10,
Uh-huh.
in the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, is that Nimrod?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
In the beginning of his kingdom was Babel and Achor, do you see that right there? And Calneh and the land of Shinar. And by the way, when it says Shinar there, I've tried before to make the main pyramid in Egypt the Tower of Babel. I've tried. It doesn't work. Because, I was thinking Shinar, figuring out where Shinar is. The Great Pyramid is the only one that, in my understanding, I've never been to it, never been inside. Never will be. And, well, I guess I shouldn't say that. That doesn't have hieroglyphics. Hieroglyphics tells me that, different languages, trying to say different things. And, hey, I don't know what the word is for this. Let's draw a guy here, walking like that, What is it that they said back in the 80s? Walk like an Egyptian, right? Thank you, Joe. So I tried to make Shinar the Tower of Babel, but I can't. And out of that land went forth Ashur and built Nineveh, the city that I already read those. Sorry, and I already read that too. And that out of whom came Philistine, that'd be the Philistines, and then that guy. And Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Gigurite, and the Hivite, and the Acherite, and the Sinite. So why would now Canaan get his own list of kids? Remember, the Bible is telling us how we got where we are. Creation, everything, how the Jews, we don't care about Japheth, even though we're the Japhethites. We don't care about, the Hamites. We don't care about all this stuff. But all of a sudden we're getting to Canaan. We care who Canaan is because he's the one that gets pushed out. So if you recognize all these names, and also on your spreadsheet, all the names listed under Canaan, those are all the people that were pushed out by the Israelites. So it pertains to them. As Moses is giving this to the people right now, he's saying, these are the people you're about to push out of the land. Okay, so let's keep on going quick. And the Avorite, the Zamorite, and the Hamathite, and afterward there were families of the Canaanites spread abroad, and the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon, as it cometh into Gerar and the Gaza, as thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah. Remember, husband and wife lived happily ever after, Sodom and Gomorrah, and Admah and Zeboim, and even unto Lasha. These are the sons of Ham after their families, after their tongues, after their countries, and in their nations. Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, brother of Japheth, the elder, even to him were children born. And so that's how we know the order. Wasn't it, I forget the order again. And children of Aram, Uz, Hul, Gether, Mash. What'd you name your kid again? Mash. Arphaxad. Now again, Arphaxad, if you look at your chronology in Genesis, you know the name Arphaxad because that would be in the genealogy that would give us Abraham, give us Noah, and no, it's after Noah, sorry, and but would give us the genealogy of Jesus Christ, and Salah and Eber. And then Eber was born 2 sons, and the name of one was Peleg. It's interesting, if you look up Peleg, the word for Peleg, the name means earthquake. Just thought that was interesting. Because it says here, for in his days was the earth divided. I just think that's interesting. If you read commentaries, nobody subscribes to the idea that the continents sprinted during Peleg's time. But however, if you know there, it says, was the earth divided, but then you look down at verse 32 and it says nations divided when it's talking about when the people left. However, the same Hebrew word is used in chapter 11, verse 1, it says the whole earth was one language. So I cannot say definitively, nor would I say definitively. I'm just trying to put handle on Australia. You know, that's just what I'm trying to do. So and we know that after the flood, because of all of everything going on, we know that there would have been an ice age. Ice age would have carved a lot of stuff, would have provided a land bridge over the Bering Strait. And so there you see, and by the way, this is talking about thousands and thousands of years, 60,000 years here. But we look at it, that's a secular thing, but from a biblical standpoint, we look at it, know that's what's happened, but we just shorten the time a lot. And nothing going that way. You know, why didn't they show Columbus? That's a joke. And so there you go. I mean, people going from... What, are you laughing at my joke or me now?
Somebody said it wasn't funny.
Well, Columbus jokes aren't funny now? They were to die for back in the day.
Oh.
I mean, think about it. Which, by the way, I'm not for changing the name. You want to have Columbus, you want Indians, I do not care. But I just think it's funny. A guy jumps off a boat, looks at a bunch of people and says, hey, these are Indians. And now we still call them Indians because that one guy jumped off the boat and didn't know where he was. That just cracks me up. You know, talk about Brazilians and Americans, you know, bless God, we're Americans. Call them Indians, they're Indians. And, hopefully that doesn't get out too far. So anyways, but it says there, for in his days was the earth divided. And I just think that's interesting. Now, that either means continental sprint during that time, and if everybody lives in the plain of Shinar, we don't have to worry about tsunamis. However, he did live a long time, maybe. Or what he's saying is, it was at this time that the Tower of Babel happened, which is going to be the next chapter. So it's one of those two things. And Joktan begot Dad and Selophoth and Harzan and Jared and Haran, and Uzal, and Dilkala, and Obal, and Abimael, and Sheba. There we go, Sheba, that's a nice easy one. And Ophir, and Havilah, and Jobab, and all these were the sons of Joktan. And their dwelling was from Mesha, as those goes into Sephar. See, and again, it's assuming we know where Sephar is. A mount of the east, you know, just over there. And these are the sons of Shem, after their families, after the tongues, after the lands, after the nations. These are the families of the sons of Noah, after the generations of their nations. And by these were all the nations divided in the earth after the flood. So again, remember, Jesus is under the impression that the first 11 chapters of Genesis were accurate. You have to remember that. Any questions on Genesis chapter 10? Ooh, we have 1 minute to do chapter 11. All right, verse 1. The whole earth was of one language and one speech. And it came to pass. So what language was that? Was it Hebrew? I don't think so. Do you think it? Did I hear you? Yeah? Okay. I think whatever language it is probably what we're going to be speaking in heaven. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a... By the way, have you ever noticed when all writing, whenever you Yeah, I missed a slide. Have you noticed that most writing writes towards Jerusalem? Do you ever notice that? When we write to the right. Languages over there, China and Japan, things of that nature, write to the left. I guess from your direction, it'd be this. Because you say, no, because in Russia, writing would be up, down. Okay, in Africa, it'd be writing. Just generally. Slanting. We write at 36.5 degrees in this country. The whole earth was in one language, what there, Chris?
Italics.
Okay, yes. The whole earth was one language, one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain on the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone and slime had they for mortar. So again, they're not cavemen. And they said, go to, let us make us a city and a tower whose top may reach into the heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. Okay, so here's the problem. God said to replenish, not to go in one location. This is also the first hint in all through Scripture. We can prove it in other places. I do not believe that God is for central power. I believe that God is for dispersing power. Churches should be independent. If we were a Southern Baptist church and all of a sudden the Baptist church decides they're going to do this one thing and then we're stuck going with them. If an independent Baptist church decided to do something, what are we going to do? We don't even know about it. Best way to be. And so our government should be based on that as well. All of our power should be in Washington, D.C. All of our power, maybe getting towards Salem, maybe in Springfield. The more local you can get your power, the more spread out it is, and the less likely for spiritual wickedness in high places to have much effect on you. But anyways, verse 5, and the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. The Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they all have one language. Wait, I thought God was for unity. And this they began to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Humans are crafty. Right? Now we're speaking the same language. We're now flying to the moon. We've now sent, things beyond Pluto. So let's go down, which by the way, we did that with an imperial measuring system, not metric. Actually that's not true. The space system is based on metric. Let us go down and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. Now is this a curse or is it a blessing? You can see it as a curse if you want central power. It's a blessing if you want to see power spread out. And that's how God wanted it. Can you imagine you're right in the middle of working and all of a sudden you're yelling down for a trowel and this guy hears cow. You're looking at each other like, why would I hand you a cow? And I want a trowel. Things of that nature. So then they started finding groups of people who spoke. Hey, does this sound familiar to anybody? What? Wait, I understand you. Oh, hey, I understand. Hey, let's get together and let's start heading this other direction. Right? So anyway, either way, if it's a curse or a blessing, it was reversed at Pentecost and will be reversed again during the millennium. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. They quit. And by the way, so then you leave that place, then you go everywhere on the planet, and you can find ziggurats. They find them in Central America. They find them in South America. They learned the technology back then, and so now they do it elsewhere. There's just evidence all over the planet of all of this stuff happening. Let's go quick. Therefore his name is called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them upon the face of the earth. So I think all of these races came to that one spot, and then they were spread out from there. So now it's not necessarily just a certain group of people. Now again, I could be wrong on that. I really could be wrong. But, so now they mix, and so then you look at this thing up here, and now we wonder, well, where did slanty eyes come from? Where did, small nostrils? Where did small foreheads? Where did big Norwegian heads come from? And all this stuff right here. Why is it that when we have kids, that their teeth don't fit in their head just like they're supposed to? Well, because I'm 15 of this, 15, can I be 15 races? Whatever, and Lisa is, what are you, French, something or else, I'm Norwegian, whatever. And so their heads are going to be bigger, the teeth are going to be smaller, now they don't fit in their head right, and so they all need braces. Well, it's right there. Okay, what? The long side?
No, just the Big head, small teeth. Now they need braces.
All because of Babel.
He never thought of that.
Okay, so now here's the genealogy, so let's just read through this quick. This will just take a minute. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old, begat Artaxerxes. 2 years after the flood, Shem lived after he begat Artaxerxes 500 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Artaxerxes lived 530 years, and begat Selah. And Artaxerxes lived after he begat Selah 403 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Selah lived 30 years, and begat Eber. And Selah lived after he begat Eber 403 years, and begat sons and daughters. Do you want to study this verse by verse, or are you just okay read through it?
Read through it.
Okay, read through it. And Peleg lived 30 years and begot Reu. And Reu lived 32 years and begot Serug. And let's see, and Serug lived 30 years and begot Nahor. And Nahor lived after he begat Terah 119 years and begot sons and daughters. Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram. Okay, so now verse 26, we're getting where we need to be. Where did the Jews come from? All right, verse 26. And Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And so remember, one of those other ones is going to have a son. And we're going to find this here. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran begot Lot. Remember, the Bible's just telling us how we got where we are. Where did Lot come from? Lot is his nephew, and that's how we know. And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity, and Ur of the Chaldees. Oh, that's why we're told so much about the Chaldeans. That's why we know that the Jews are Shemites. And Abraham and Nahor took them wives, and the name of Abraham's wife is Sarai. That's Abraham and Sarah. And the name of Nahor's wife, Milcah, and the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Iscah. And but Sarah was barren and had no child. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarah his daughter-in-law, and his son Abraham's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees. So now you see the Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan, and they came to Haran and dwelt there. So they did not go to Canaan, they just got to Haran, they stopped, and then in the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran, and so then now we're going to start talking about Abraham. Father Abraham had many sons, many sons had Father Abraham. You could have cut the string before I started singing. Any questions? All right, so we went verse by verse through most of the first 11 chapters. However, now we're going to go story by story. There's no reason to go verse by verse through some of these stories. Some of them there is. But anyways, do you see yourself up here?
Well, don't you think, I mean, it's obvious, that's why way back, years ago, they didn't want you to marry outside of your nationality. I mean, it was, if you were Italian, they didn't want you to marry a German.
Hey, you cutting the string or what? Cut the string.
Shines, every tree growing tall, every grape on the vine sends a light to this world every eye can see. Jesus is alive, over death there's victory. Every star in the sky, every cloud up above says Jesus is alive, tells us of God's love. As we travel this world, everything we see pictures God's glory and His majesty. In the Lord we'll awake to start a new day, hoping Christ to see. May this be the rapture day. Evening now has come and another day God's blessed, as we seek to win the lost till we lay our heads to rest. Every star